Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack some truly mind-bending insights from modern longevity science, drawn directly from researcher Dr. Sajeev Nair's fascinating work. Look, if you've ever thought that getting older just automatically meant slowing down and accepting a steady decline, you're definitely going to want to pay close attention today. We're talking about actionable, scientifically grounded lifestyle hacks designed not just to keep you alive longer, but to keep you operating at absolute peak performance well past your 100th birthday. To really wrap our heads around this, we first have to totally redefine the goal. In the past, the medical industry focused almost entirely on lifespan. I mean, think about it. In the early 20th century, the average life expectancy was around 40 years. Today, thanks to modern medicine, it's over 70. But here's the catch. While modern medicine is incredibly good at keeping us alive, a lot of the time it just results in us dying longer. We're surviving, sure, but we're battling chronic diseases for decades. So the new frontier? That's Healthspan. This is about ensuring that when you're 70 or 80, you have the exact same vibrant energy, cognitive sharpness, and productivity as you did in your 20s and 30s. And this brings up a massive, and I mean massive, paradigm shift in longevity research right now. We've all been conditioned to believe that aging is just a natural wear and tear process, right? But what if it isn't? What if aging is actually a disease? Leading researchers now classify aging as a disease, driven by cellular dysfunction, mitochondrial damage, and oxidation. And if aging is a disease, well, diseases can be treated, managed, and potentially even cured. When we look at the sheer scale of what's possible, history tells us the absolute upper limit of human life taps out at around 120 years. But because scientists are now targeting the root cellular causes of aging rather than just slapping band-aids on symptoms, experts in the longevity field are setting a much bolder target: 180 years. Yep, there are serious researchers out there actively targeting and working towards a 180-year lifespan. Now, if 180 years sounds like pure science fiction, get this. Recent human trials, some even approved by the FDA, have shown that biological age could potentially be reversed by up to 75% in just 6 months. We aren't talking about your calendar age. Your birth year obviously stays the exact same. We're talking about the biological age of your cells and your organs. It is entirely possible to be 60 on the calendar but have the cellular health of someone decades younger.
All right, let's get into exactly how this works with Section 1, Epigenetics, Hacking Your DNA.
So how do we actually achieve that kind of cellular youth? It all starts with your DNA. Think of your DNA like a massive library of information passed down from your parents. Now, you can't change the books in the library, but epigenetics? That's the science of which books actually get pulled off the shelf and read. It's the switch. Your behaviors, your environment, and your daily lifestyle choices act as the switches that turn specific genes on or off without ever altering your underlying genetic code.
Which brings us to a really critical concept: gene variants. These are essentially tiny errors or glitches passed down in your genetic code. Dr. Nair actually shared a highly personal example of this. He is a gene variant associated with coronary artery disease, which is the exact same disease that caused his father to suffer a heart attack at just 48. But here is the key takeaway. Just having the gene doesn't mean you automatically get the disease. It lies dormant until a specific lifestyle trigger flips a switch and turns it on.
And here is the ultimate lifestyle hack. You can actually rig this entire system in your favor. Step 1, you decode your DNA using a simple saliva test. Step 2, you identify which of those dormant disease genes or variants you're carrying around. Step 3, you figure out what triggers them and you block it. For Dr. Nair, he discovered his heart disease gene is triggered by elevated levels of an amino acid called homocysteine. And why does his homocysteine spike? Because his body genetically struggles to absorb vitamin B9 or folate. So, his hack? He actively monitors his blood, and whenever that homocysteine rises, he takes a targeted vitamin B9 supplement. He literally blocks the trigger before the disease ever gets a chance to manifest. Moving right along to Section 2, the gut, also known as your second brain. That brings us to the second massive pillar of longevity, one that dictates your entire mental and physical well-being. You probably think of yourself as entirely human, right? Well, the reality is kind of staggering. You are actually more bacteria than human. There are roughly 20 to 30 trillion human cells in your body, but there are approximately 100 trillion bacteria living inside your gut. Basically, they run the show.
This massive, bustling ecosystem is called your microbiome. It controls your digestion, it powers your immune system, and it even synthesizes critical chemicals. But because of our modern, super narrow diets, our microbiomes are starved. In fact, testing shows that up to 70% of people are completely missing essential strains of bacteria. And when you miss these strains, your health and your mood can just collapse. Think of them like incredibly demanding microscopic tenants. If you don't feed them exactly what they want, they will completely wreck the building.
And this creates a direct, undeniable link between your gut and your happiness. We always associate serotonin, the happiness hormone, with the brain. But a shocking 94% of your body's serotonin is actually produced right in your gut. Mind-blowing, right? Think about what this actually means for mental health. Serotonin is created from an amino acid called L-tryptophan, which we get from foods like dairy and dark chocolate. But to process that L-tryptophan into serotonin, you need specific gut bacteria. If those bacteria are missing from your microbiome, the factory is shut down. You could eat all the chocolate in the world, or even take antidepressants, but without the right bacteria, you just won't produce the serotonin. Fixing your gut ecosystem can quite literally turn your body's happiness factory back on, which can sometimes resolve severe behavioral and depressive issues in just a matter of months.
All right, let's get practical with Section 3, Hidden Dangers in Daily Diets.
Let's talk daily application here, because generic, healthy advice might actually be doing you more harm than good. Take seed oils, for example, particularly those containing high levels of polyunsaturated fatty acids, or PUFAs. They are a massive trigger for turning on coronary and heart disease genes. Dr. Nair points out this totally shocking historical fact. Sunflower oil was originally developed for the paint industry, not for human consumption. Yet today, it is the absolute default cooking oil in restaurants and homes, acting as this massive quiet trigger for cardiovascular issues. It's wild. And that brings us to another huge culinary red flag: deep frying and heavy grilling. When you deep fry or heavily caramelize foods, it creates AGEs, advanced glycation end products. Glycation is a process that quite literally acts like a fast-forward button for cellular aging. It creates carcinogens and rapidly ages your body from the inside out.
The big takeaway here is pretty stark. There is absolutely no such thing as a one-size-fits-all diet or workout plan. One man's superfood is literally another man's poison. If you have genes for impaired fat metabolism, going on the super popular keto diet could actually cause you to become obese. For some people, eating broccoli, which is widely considered a total superfood, activates negative disease-causing gene variants. Even popular high-intensity workouts like High Rocks or HIIT can trigger severe, potentially fatal health events if your specific genetic makeup just isn't built to handle that kind of acute stress.
And all of these daily choices really start to compound, because as we age, a critical communication molecule called NAD begins to drop. NAD is essentially the communication network between your cells. By age 40, it starts dropping noticeably, and by age 60, you can lose up to 50% of it. When your cells can't communicate, they replicate with errors, kind of like a bad photocopy. Your skin loses its elasticity, your cognition slows down. To fight this oxidation and cellular breakdown, you have to drastically increase your intake of natural antioxidants like vitamin C, vitamin E, and help your body produce glutathione to slow down that deterioration.
Let's look at some real-world proof in Section 4, Secrets of the Blue Zones.
We don't just have to rely on the lab tests to prove this stuff. We have real-world populations doing it right now. When we study centenarians in the blue zones, places like Okinawa in Japan and Sardinia in Italy, where living past 100 with full vitality is totally normal, we see some super clear patterns. They favor a Mediterranean-style diet. They almost entirely avoid deep-fried foods, completely bypassing those aging AGEs we just talked about. They consume natural antioxidants, like resveratrol found in moderate amounts of red wine. But honestly, crucially, they prioritize community. They spend time together, outdoors, off their screens, fostering a powerful social environment that keeps their nervous systems regulated and their minds incredibly sharp.
And perhaps the most surprising hack from these regions is how they actually view exercise. In the blue zones, you don't see people doing one massive, brutal gym session and then sitting at a desk for 10 hours. It's all about continuous, gentle motion. In fact, governments in places like Singapore have successfully incentivized this with the 8,000-step hack. They literally reward citizens with points for hitting 8,000 steps a day, which they can then redeem for healthy foods. It's all about keeping the body moving constantly throughout the day, completely preventing that physical stagnation. So, we've covered a ton of ground today, from hacking your DNA triggers to rebuilding your gut microbiome and dodging those generic health traps. The overarching message here is incredibly empowering. You are not at the mercy of your age.
By understanding your unique genetic code and giving your cells exactly what they need, you can totally shift your trajectory. You can stop simply dying longer and start living healthier, unlocking an incredibly vibrant, energetic health span.
You basically hold the keys to this modern longevity science right now. It's not about waiting around for a magic pill. It's about the choices you make every single day. So, I'm going to leave you with this. Knowing that your daily habits are the literal switches that control your genes, what is one lifestyle hack you will change today to rewrite your own genetic destiny?